Hello, home bosses. If you've ever looked at the coloring book niche on Amazon and thought there is no way I can compete with all of that, you're not alone. It's one of the most common things I hear from self-publishers. Nuria, coloring books are saturated. Everyone says so. But here's the thing. I decided to stop guessing and actually find out. I sat down with AI and I did proper niche research, and what came back genuinely surprised me. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I did step by step. And by the end, you might be looking at the coloring book niche in a completely different way. So now, before I show you what the AI found, I want to talk about how most people research a niche, because I've done this the wrong way myself. Most of us open Amazon, type in coloring books, see thousands of results, and immediately think, forget it. Or we do the opposite. We find the one book that looks like it's selling well, copy the idea, and hope for the best. And neither of those approaches actually tells you anything useful. The first one just confirms that the niche exists, and the second one puts you in direct competition with someone who got there before you. So what we actually need to know is this: is there a specific group of people who want a coloring book that nobody is making for them yet? That is a very different question, and it's exactly the question I asked AI to help me answer. So what I did is I opened Claude, which is the AI tool I use the most at the moment, and I started with a simple question. I asked, I'm a self-publisher considering the coloring book niche on Amazon KDP. Can you give me an honest overview of how competitive it is, what subcategories exist, and where there might still be opportunities for a new publisher? And you can see the response here. So I find it really interesting what Claude has replied. First of all, it gives me a quick overview, and it shows me subcategories worth knowing about. So this was really interesting. And then it also tells me where opportunity still exists. So this was really helpful. And if you have a look at all these subcategories, they do make sense. Now, none of this shocked me. The top level of the coloring book niche, things like adult coloring books and mandala coloring books, is crowded. We probably all knew that. But look at what Claude flagged underneath that: educational coloring books, seasonal books, coloring books with a twist, like ones that include affirmations or a short story on each page, and coloring books aimed at a specific audience. That last one is where I wanted to dig deeper, because here's something I always teach my students. A generic coloring book has thousands of competitors, but a coloring book made for a very specific person, that's a completely different conversation. So I went back to Claude with a second question. I asked, within the coloring book niche on Amazon KDP, I want to focus on books created for a specific audience. Can you list underserved audiences who might buy or receive coloring books, and flag which ones might have demand but lower competition? Right, so let's look at what came back, because this is where it gets really interesting. Claude flagged several audiences that are almost completely ignored in this niche. Boys aged 6 to 10. Normally, coloring books skew heavily towards girls, the designs, the colors, the marketing. Boys this age are genuinely underserved, especially around themes like vehicles, like cars, buses, tractors. Another one is sport and adventure without using any licensed characters. Teenagers as well. Almost nothing exists for this age group. Too old for cute animals, too young for complex mandalas. A coloring book that actually speaks to what teenagers are into, for example, gothic styles, anime-inspired art, music, fashion, that could find a real space on Amazon. The other one was senior men. Now, this one really made me stop. Senior coloring books exist, but almost all of them are designed with women in mind. They've got floral designs, butterflies, soft pastel themes. A coloring book made specifically for older men, for example, nature, gardening, architecture, vehicles, history. That is surprisingly rare. Fathers and children's coloring together, a coloring book marketed as a paired activity for dads and their kids. There are some books in this space, but not many compared to other niches. And this is where I'd say to Claude, let's drill down even further, because within fathers and children, there are probably more specific angles that nobody has touched yet. And anxious children, not just children broadly, but specifically children who struggle with anxiety, paired with simple calming prompts alongside the images. By the way, you can also type this prompt into other AIs. I also tried it in Copilot and got a very nice summary of the coloring book market and also different sub-niches that are worth considering. So I typed the same prompt into Copilot. I'm a self-publisher and I told it what I wanted to do. And it gave me another really good summary of how competitive the coloring book niche is on KDP. So you can type that prompt into any AI of your choice and it will give you information. The good thing about Copilot was it also gave you the sources where it actually got its information. So it's actually turned out to be a very good research tool. It even gave me some tips where the real opportunities are. And again, it's the same as with Claude. I would then dig down a little bit further. If there's a niche that you think is interesting, then maybe ask your AI to dig down and to find more information. But just with that prompt alone, I already got some very good ideas, and it really helped me make a decision based on what coloring book to create that I thought had an actual chance of selling. And you can see there are quite a few to choose from. So let's take a step back and look at what we actually learned today. Is the coloring book niche saturated? At the top level, yes. If you go in with a generic adult coloring book or a standard mandala book, you are going to struggle. That part is true. But the moment you stop thinking about themes and start thinking about people, the picture changes completely. There are real audiences out there who are not being served well. Boys aged 6 to 10, teenagers, senior men, fathers and children, anxious children. These are not made up gaps. They are people who exist, who buy books, and who are not finding exactly what they need on Amazon right now. And the research we did today took honestly about 10 minutes. 2 prompts in Claude, that's it. Knowing a gap exists is one thing. Knowing whether real buyers are actually searching for it is another. The next step would be to take one of these audiences and dig into real Amazon review data using Notebook LM to find the demand signals that tell you whether an idea is worth pursuing. And if you'd like me to create that video, let me know in the comments below. So if you're watching this and thinking, right, I actually want to do something with this, the next step is to start researching your chosen audience properly before you create anything. Inside my publishing academy, this is exactly the kind of work we do together. We don't just talk about publishing theory, we get into the research, the creation, and the marketing with tools, resources, and a community of self-publishers who are all working through the same challenges. And if that sounds like somewhere you'd like to be, the link is in the description below. Come and have a look. As always, if you have any questions about anything we covered today, drop them in the comments. And if you already publish coloring books, I'd love to know if this has helped you find a different perspective, or maybe you already found your niche and have found success. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye for now.